Hey, it's JK. So, here's a fact about me. Dark Souls 1 was my first Souls game. Shocking, I know. Like many others, this game absolutely kicked my stuff in, and I died a lot throughout the 60 hours I spent on my first playthrough. I literally thought it was the hardest game ever. Fast forward 13 years later, and this game is kinda easy now. Yeah, probably one of the easier games in the franchise. I even went through to New Game Plus with unupgraded health and stamina, and I still got through without too much issue. That's not to say I'm an awesome player, I'm definitely not. But once you've played this game enough and you know what's going on, nailing the boss attack patterns is pretty manageable, especially compared to the much faster and more aggressive future games. So my question is, can I make Dark Souls 1 difficult for myself again? How would we even go about doing that? Well, how about, instead of restricting myself to a weird weapon or spell, I instead remove the ways you would normally mitigate taking damage. So, for this run, I will not be allowed to dodge. This includes both rolling and backstepping. This is the main way a lot of players would usually avoid damage from enemies. But then again, you could mitigate damage in two other ways, those being guarding with a shield or tanking hits with big chunky high poise armor like Havel's armor. So, I'm also blocking myself from using these. Now, I know what you're thinking, but hold on JK, you can just go for a ranged build with magical archery and stay at a distance. Well, you're wrong. For this run, I must use a quote-unquote normal melee build, so I have to get up close and figure out how to survive without the usual ways of mitigating damage. When I say normal, I mean that I'm not going to sequence break the game to get higher upgrade materials, and I'm also going to only use weapons upgraded via the normal Titanite shards route. Lastly, I'm also going to ban Power Within and Red Tearstone Ring, because we've seen from previous videos how stupid the damage can be with these, and taking out a boss in like 2 hits again kinda takes away from this challenge. With that, let's get this mess underway. First, we make our character Roller Derpy. Where do you think this guy would take someone on a date? Let me know in the comments below. We don't choose Master Key as we don't intend to sequence break, and I want the black firebombs instead. I also choose the Deprived class because why not? Is this run a bad idea?
Yes, indeed.
To start up, we use the black firebombs to kill the Asylum Demon. Killing him on the first encounter nets us the Demon's Great Hammer. Can't wield it yet of course, but I'll demonstrate how great it is later on. Next, I invite Oscar to my club, fly over to Firelink Shrine, put 2 points into strength, and then run and grab the Zweihander from the graveyard nearby. There's also a lot of poppable souls around the area, so we grab these all up and also get the Firekeeper soul early in New Londo that I pretty much never remembered to grab. Having a good Estus will actually be important here. Using some souls we gathered, we get up to 15 strength and also reinforce the Estus flask. We kill a few more enemies and then get to 16 strength, allowing us to wield the Zweihander. This will be our weapon for a fair bit of the run. We easily bonk all the enemies in Undead Burg and buy the Residence Key. Now comes our first death of the run. Not to a boss, I'd just died to these enemies in this room. Not being able to dodge away spelled our demise. This is going to be a running theme, I feel. Because we got the Residence Key, we can go through this door to get the Gold Pine Resin for later. I also dropped down here to get the Blue Tearstone Ring. I actually thought that this would save me from being one-shot, but I only found out after completing this run that it actually doesn't work like that, so yeah, oh well. Anyway, I get the Black Knight to drop off here even though my rules prevent me from using his weapon. Seems his favourite season is fall. We kill the Crystal Lizard here and then head on to the Taurus Demon. After killing the 2 guys up top with no issue, I lure the Taurus Demon and do the plunge. Even unupgraded, this took off half his health. All his attacks were actually avoidable by me just moving backwards. I found the running attack of the Zweihander actually staggered him, so running in, doing that, retreating, and then repeating this sequence was enough to easily take him down after just a few swings. It seems like he was only visiting the world of the living for a short time. Guess that's why he's called the Tourist Demon. We then narrowly escape a flaming death and then kick down the ladder for the shortcut. I then level up vitality like an absolute casual. I made it past the red kite Kendrick and grabbed the basement key and the mystery key. Way more key grabbing on this run than usual, hopefully it unlocks the secret to success. I gotta say, it's crazy how difficult it is to avoid even normal enemy attacks without rolling. Thankfully, I can circle around the Berenike Knight to kill it to get the Titanite shard it drops, and also the Firekeeper soul behind it. We now upgrade the Zweihander to +1. On the way to the Gogs, I killed a lot of the Hollows and the Channeler, but did get caught at the end unfortunately. Guess this was a bit of a failure. After a better repeat performance, we get back, free Lautrec, and easily pancake him to get the Ring of Favor and Protection for that sweet health, stamina, and weight load. A favourable reward indeed. With the souls we get from all that killing, we buy more Titanite shards and upgrade the Zweihander to +3. I didn't really have it in me to kill all these guys again, but luckily managed to just about run through all of them without dying. Time now for the Bell Gargoyles. This started off a bit trickier than our previous boss fights. Obviously running is going to be the main way we avoid damage in this run, but there were some attacks I couldn't figure out how to avoid in time. Eventually, I settled on the strategy of running around them in a circular motion and landing the running R1, which does good damage and gets the stagger. Not locking on is kinda key because you can't run while locked on in this game. I just barely managed to get the first one down in time to get away from the second one's fire breath. But surviving that was all I needed, as it only took 2 hits to kill the second after this, which marks our first notable victory. With the first bell rung, I used some of the souls we gained to get the Zweihander to +5 and used the rest to level some of our stats. As I was here, I decided to quickly clear out the Titanite Andre just down the stairs from Demon the Blacksmith. I also headed to the Darkroot Garden. Moonlight Butterfly is floating above the area, so we might as well kill it while we're here. For most of the attacks, you can just run back and forth to avoid them. It doesn't always work, as the multi-shot attack can still sometimes pop you though. This actually somehow ended up being the closest boss fight so far. Part of that was the first time it landed, I didn't get in as much damage as I could because I used heavy attacks instead of light, so it actually took 3 cycles to kill this bug. It was very close at the end, but still got it on my first butter try. For stats now, I'm thinking just pump more strength and endurance. The next logical direction is down to the lower berg. Hey, I can kill these guys through the door. Nice. We easily made it to the first boss that was giving me real cause for concern, the Capra Demon. And yeah, I was right to be worried. I worked out that I could hit the other dog at the start, but trying to then get away and heal never seemed to go well for me. What a dog day afternoon. Next attempt, I actually missed the dog at the start, but managed to get up the stairs, fall down, and hit one of the dogs on the way down. I then made some distance and hit the other dog running towards me. Helpfully, I could stagger the Capra with my running or heavy attack, but it used up all of my stamina. It did come down to the wire when he caught me with some hits, but luckily I managed to land a heavy attack to finish him off, meaning that he didn't become the scapegoat for this run's failure. So let's take the usual route into the depths. After hard failing this plunge attack, I managed to backstab the butcher, kill the dog, and grab the large Andre from this chest. We drop down further, plunge this creature to make some ratatouille, and run and get the bonfire unlocked. We boost our strength stats some more, and of course remember to bonk the channel number 5. Probably the nicest smelling thing in this dirty sewer. The Gaping Dragon is of course next. Honestly, this boss wasn't that much different than normal. His attacks are very slow and he has huge windows, so rolling isn't really necessary anyway. Running back and forth to bait the head slam is an acceptable strategy. I did get clipped by his tail swipes a couple of times, but after I removed the tail, that was no longer an issue. A few more swings, and we slay the Gapex Predator of this area. Have I ever mentioned how much I love this route to Blighttown? It's always so much fun, would recommend. Although I did get to see this grab attack that I've never seen before, so that was kinda cool. After dying a few more times, we made it to the first bonfire at last. The fun isn't over yet though. I at last managed to make it to the ground level of Blighttown, even though I was poisoned and toxic at the same time. I ran through the swamp, but got invaded by Mildred. I forgot that I was human, to be honest. But she got stopped by an invisible wall here for some reason. Well, never look a gift horse in the mouth. Mildred gets the sack shortly after. So, one thing to note, I was playing this run while wearing headphones, which I don't normally do, and I heard a lot of things I'd never noticed before. Like the sounds these guys make when praying. Listen to this. Well, anyway, on to Quelaag. For her, I used a gold pine resin. The damage here is huge, and sometimes if you're lucky you can clip her human body for a stagger. For her sword swipes and lava spit, you can just nestle in her side here and just swing away after she's done. No rolling needed. The only attack to worry about is the explosion. It's by far the most dangerous one, and I did get caught by it on one occasion, but luckily ran away and was able to recover. After a few more swings, I kill her just as I spied her about to explode again. The second bell is rung, and we get some more levels in. While down here, I also killed Ceaseless Discharge because, hey, it's free souls, no hidden costs or discharges. I managed to get all the way back out of Blighttown, even if I did get smacked on the way. I can now give the Divine and Large Andres to Ember, and in turn upgrade the Demon's Great Hammer to +5, as we can now two-hand it with our current strength level. Time to test this baby out. We bonk this Crystal Lizard, and bonk Havel for Havel's Ring, giving us some faster movement. With the single large Titanite shard we had, we get a +6 Demon's Great Hammer. I kinda wanted more Estus, so I went for a quick Catacombs trip. It didn't end well. Next try, I managed to somehow make it down without dying. To the surprise of no one, I bonked Pinwheel very easily, even pancaking him here, which I didn't know you could actually do. We're rewarded now with the Rite of Kindling, letting us have up to 20 Estus, which, yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be essential for later on, let's be real. With that sorted, the only sensible decision is to enter this fortress. This was a series of bonking enemies and grabbing large Titanite shards. I was a little worried about the boulder run in this section, but managed to make it just about, and I made it to the bonfire up top. Also worth mentioning, the only roll I will allow is the one that occurs after jumping, as there's literally no way to avoid doing that, and honestly, it won't come into play much anyway. We buy some large Titanite shards from the merchant, and with one more large shard from the knight here, we can now get the hammer up to +10. We test it out by killing the giant up top, and he goes down in just a few swings, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. Iron Golem was up next. This actually was really easy, without even staggering him to make him tumble off. Our weapon did great damage due to his slight weakness to strike, and his attacks just seemed to keep missing me. I did get caught by this one fist slam, but other than that, a few further swings allows us to steal the victory from this metal man. We can now make our way to Anor Londo, where we of course level up some more. I swiftly made my way across the rafters. Ian and friends couldn't really do much to stop me. I also ran through the archers section with no issue, surprisingly. Even more shocking than that though, was I made it to the boss fog, somehow avoiding this attack. Now, things have been going probably a bit too smooth for my liking so far, but I have a feeling things are going to change shortly. So, Ornstein and Smo. Yep, that's what I've been missing. Ah, wonderful. That's the stuff. So, this took a few tries to figure out. The good news is my damage was really strong. The logical choice was to take out Ornstein first as he had less health, and once it was down to 1-on-1, it would be much easier. Playing not locked on was crucial here. I focused on running attacks. I did get a bit greedy in one opening, but it paid off as it left Ornstein low on health, and one more swing made him Unbornstein. Interestingly, as he died, I got hit by Smo, smashing me into the air, which actually left me right next to him as the second phase started in quite a scary moment, but I survived thankfully. I mainly baited his short-range attacks and just ran away from his charges and butt slams. I did get caught by said butt slam on one occasion, but luckily I was able to recover. After a few more hits, I staggered him out of a butt slam, and then one final Smo to executioner blow ended it. But one thing that hasn't ended is our quest for 200,000 subscribers. If you're enjoying the content, why not consider joining the glorious world of the subscribed? If you think you are subscribed, maybe actually just check, because you might actually not be, as many people watching aren't. And of course, we can only reach this goal with your help. Thank you, I appreciate you all. Anyway, up ahead, Guinevere gives us the Lord Vessel, and I gave her a black firebomb in return. Well, let's go back to the asylum. Luckily, this bit does not require a roll, which I didn't know before trying it, but was happy to see. We get dropped off and very nearly died to Torch Hollows. Hate these guys. So we go down to Stray Demon. If you get behind him, you can often just bait him into either doing the butt slam or shockwave attacks, both of which are easy to run away from, and then sprint back into him for a running attack. Repeat a few times as needed, and soon after, he gets strayed to rest, giving us a Titanite slab. I got the doll! For the next route, I used some poppable souls to buy the Artorius of Andre from Crest, which we used to open the Artorius here. After hanging out with the mushrooms for a bit, let's go say hi to Sif. And actually die to Sif. I just couldn't run away from the spin to win attack fast enough. This proved way more difficult than anticipated actually. Not being able to roll under her sword swings to get an opening made this quite tough. On the winning attempt, I felt like I got lucky more than anything. I managed to stay under Sif and she kept doing spins and swings that couldn't actually hit me. She didn't choose to jump backwards like she'd done a lot in the previous few tries. After a couple more swings, we bring her down thanks to her more passive approach to this fight. With the Covenant of Artorias in hand, we make our way to New Londo. I ran through the ghost house, spoke to Ingrid, and got the key to the seal. Once we use the key to drain out the water, I start grabbing the Titanite chunks lying around, which is the main reason I wanted to come here first. Honestly, this area sucked though. Not being able to roll against the dark wraiths is pretty painful. When you're getting up after being knocked down, not being able to roll leaves you very vulnerable to being hit again, an issue that will become more prevalent later on. Up high in the ruins, we get the very large Andre and we give it over to Ember at last. With the chunks and slab we've gathered along the way, we upgrade the hammer to plus 15. Alright, last bit of prep. We use all the poppables on us to do a big level up of endurance. Let's get the 4 kings out of the way. I use some gold pine resin for this one. As always, getting up close is key. You can actually walk around some of their attacks, but even if you do get hit, the attacks don't do that much damage as long as you're close enough. I also don't have some crazy level of vitality here, it's only at 23 at the moment. With a series of smacks, we just about finish the first one off before the second spawns. The second goes a lot quicker thanks to using the running attack. I did kind of zone out and forget that I could hit them as they disappear for more damage. As a result, I did actually fight 4 kings in this 4 kings fight, but a heavy attack ended the fight in 1 hit to the 4th, bringing this battle royal to a close. With their souls, I just put more points into endurance for some reason. As I hadn't spoken to Framp yet, I got to speak to Karth instead. He took me to the Firelink altar, which was good because it meant that I wouldn't forget to place the Lord Vessel for once. No awkwardly turning up to these places and getting walled by golden fog for me. Let's go to Lost Izalith first. Here, I got revenge on the Capra demon for earlier. I know this game isn't Bloodborne, but you could definitely call that a Kirk hammer. I then got up to 32 endurance for no real reason, except I like having lots of stamina. Demon Fire Sage is the first boss in the Izalith Gauntlet. I actually found this kinda challenging for once. I couldn't avoid his opening attack, and then he got himself stuck in this corner, making it really difficult to avoid his shockwave, which killed me. Next try though, he decided to keep repeating the butt slam, which was easy enough to run away from, and then charge back into for a running attack. He did jump into the corner again, but this time I was in a better position to run away, and then I finished him off soon after, providing a safe passage to the next boss. Now, Centipede Demon. There is actually an interesting problem here, the lava. Can I survive the damage of getting across here? Ooh, just barely. But I did struggle avoiding his frantic attacks though. Ouch. I also got pushed into the lava by his tail on another attempt. On the next try though, things went better. I managed to get behind it and avoid the spinning jumping attack. Then, I actually smashed off its tail, killing it in 1 hit, which was helpful to reduce its range. Just a few more hits, and this boss is sent to the Shadow Realm. To continue the bonking spree, I bonked the Pyro Witch and Kirk up ahead for a double bonk bonanza. Well, bed of chaos. Hitting the first bit is of course completely fine. I actually tried to do this without my usual save and quit tactic to get back outside the fog gate. I regretted that pretty soon after. We eventually managed to get through and smash the other limb. Getting to the true body was even a bit of a challenge because normally I roll like mad here, but instead I had to slowly smash the branches away. A faster weapon would have been better in hindsight. Pretty much impossible to avoid the fire pillars if it chooses to do this, but luckily I survived and managed to get through and put this boss to bed. I leveled strength this time as I felt like my endurance was good for now. Next, we run down to the catacombs again. After navigating some careful drop downs, we make it to the Tomb of the Giants. Hi Patches. Bye Patches. Sadly, these NPCs didn't go down quite as easily. Not being able to roll away after I got hit once again caused some issues. At least we one-shot the skeleton dogs though. Now, here I actually put 1 point into Dex. The reason? Well, I was trying to wield Patch's Crescent Axe. We won't get the magic damage as we lack 5 faith points, but should still get some physical damage. But why the hell would you want to barely wield this, I hear you ask? Well, Patch's weapon is one of the rare ones that can actually perma-kill the skeletons in Nito's boss fight without needing to be infused. The damage isn't awesome, but 4 hits is enough to kill them. Unfortunately, as I killed the last one, Nito hit me and got me toxicked with no way to cure myself. This added some tension to the fight as I needed to finish him off quickly. I basically just baited his swings, ran around them, and landed running attacks. I also was low on Estus, so I had to use Humanity here. Thankfully, 2 more heavy attacks and this fight is finito. Before we head to the last Lord Souls, let's head back to Anor Londo to clear up some loose ends. For Gwyndolin, literally all of his attacks can be avoided by just running side to side in a zigzag pattern, so this was no issue really. A few bonks clear up this misunderstanding. Onto the Painted World now, where we bonk the undead dragon and use the jump attack to open up this shortcut because I am not going into those narrow corridors with the bone wheels. Now, Priscilla. So, look, obviously this was not a difficult fight, but there's one thing I want to point out. Another interesting thing I noticed due to playing with headphones on. After landing the first hit, causing her to go invisible and jump to another part of the arena, I could actually hear where her voice was coming from. This allowed me to find her very easily, and 4 smashes of the hammer ends this tale. Alright, let's get the hell out of here. Last thing to do is take out the Hydra. I running bonked the golems with no issue. I did take some hits from the Hydra, which is to be expected given our restrictions. But the good news was we did so much damage per hit that 4 strikes took it down, meaning I didn't have to deal with that last annoying head that's always out of reach. After celebrating by standing a few inches off the ground, I give this golem 2 bonks to free Dusk for later. Time for the Duke's Archives at last, where we kick things off by smashing up Boris Johnson. And here was me saying we weren't going to be doing a one-shot build. Awkward. Anyway, we take the scripted death to Seath as it was quicker than trying the Duke skip. We escape from the cell and bonk the snakes and the fetish creatures. Turn that racket off! Damn kids. Yet another thing to note while wearing headphones, I never noticed the crying sound effect from these 2 tentacle monsters at the back. That's pretty creepy. Anyhow, we make our way through, smashing enemies on the way, and get the shortcut unlocked. Ow. We descend down into the crystal caves, and finally make it to Seath. Annoyingly, this clam did follow me in. Then I got caught by Seath's AoE, and instantly hit by the swinging tails because I couldn't tap circle to get up quick enough for the fear of rolling. Yep, I actually died to Seath. For the next attempt, things went much smoother. His attacks are mostly okay to avoid, although the big AoE requires you to start running right away to avoid it. But this didn't go down without issue. I got a bit too greedy here, and unfortunately got caught in the crystals, taking damage and eventually being cursed. I did finish Seath off right before I died, and thankfully it did count, but still a bit embarrassing though. I'm sure I'm going to get some Seathless roasting in the comments. After buying a purging stone to sort my health out, it's time for the part I imagine you've all been waiting for, the DLC. The base game up to this point has surprisingly not been that bad, with a couple of bumps along the way, but the DLC contains the hardest bosses in the game, so chances are things will get spicy from here. So first up, of course, Ian the Sanctuary Guard, the fan favourite of the channel. Honestly, this started off really badly, and I nearly died right off the bat. But then I started running, and kept running. The strategy of running backwards and then sweeping back into land and attack worked great here, and thankfully our damage was high. This went smoothly in the end, but of course Ian is the easiest foe we have to face here, and very wary of what's coming up. Speaking of which, hi Calamite. So I just ran through the garden, and now it's time for Artorias. I don't have a good feeling about this. Yep, there we go. This was the second most difficult fight of the whole run. Getting away from his combos without rolling is not easy. Ouch. Even when I had quite a good run, it felt like one mistake put me in a position where I just couldn't escape from his attacks. This took probably more tries than all the other bosses so far put together. Feels like there's just no way I can outrun some of these attacks. One good thing is the hammer can stagger Artorias in 2 hits. Using this to my advantage, I just need to land enough hits at the right time to win. Easier said than done though, of course. Crazily enough, the winning attempt only lasted a minute. As I entered, he did the flip attack, which I was able to walk around. Sadly, my attack whiffed, but then I landed 2 more in a row after, dodging his next attack. He rolled back to do his buff animation, and I hit him twice to break it. I then ran away, and he decided to do his jump, which I outranged, and then ran back to hit him. I then free-aimed my follow-up, so I hit him again for another stagger. He leapt back, I healed, he jumped again, and then I landed the finishing 2 blows to at last end this nightmare boss encounter. With that sorted, I headed into Ulasil Township for lots of joy and fun. I actually went and got the silver pendant for once because I might actually need it this time. Spoiler, I completely forgot to use it whatsoever. This bridge also turned out to be a problem, as normally I roll past this guy's projectiles, but I obviously can't do that here. Trying to dodge these running is difficult even when you're not on a narrow bridge because of how much they track you. I only got past in the end due to pure luck. He just decided not to fire for some reason. Thanks, I guess. We run to this platform, splat the mimic, and get the crest key. I surprisingly did manage to somehow run through this hellish section and get the bonfire without dying, which was probably the biggest surprise of the run so far. I then went to see Calamite, and then went to see Goth, who left Calamite dragging his ass along the ground. Helpful as always. On our next encounter, Calamite was very excited to see me. Yep, he definitely swiped right. Overall though, this was a lot easier than Artorias. Calamite's attacks are much more manageable, and staying under him is a really good strategy. I did get stomped a few times, but avoiding his Calamity attack gave me a good window to get 3 hits in. I then did get hit by the double head swipe, barely surviving, but thankfully he did his dash, giving me space and time to run away and heal. His fire breath gave me the opening for 2 more attacks, and then getting under him while he head swiped let me land the final 2 to his Calafeet for victory. By the way, how crazy is it that this is still only 23 vitality? It's carried me pretty far here. After a quick run down into the abyss, it was time for Manus. Yep, that's about how I thought it would go. So weird thing, the running attack of the hammer kind of staggers Manus, but it's actually not a good thing. It staggers him for a fraction of a second, but actually it knocks him out of his window at the end of his attacks, meaning he can respond with another attack quicker than usual. This is a prime example here. At the end of his 6-hit combo, it pushes him straight into another attack. So much pain was handed out to me here. Easily the toughest fight of the run. Similar to Artorias, it's just really difficult to actually get away from some of these attacks. Distance seems to be the key to success here, baiting the big overhead hand slam, the only attack that he can't punish me after, even if I hit him with a running attack. Even on my really good attempts, getting hit by one wrong attack spells game over. Finally, after a couple of hours of attempts, this happened. With that victory, the run is complete. So let's go back to that original question. How hard was Dark Souls without dodging, blocking, or armor? Well, It varied, honestly. There were a lot of parts that weren't that much more difficult than a normal run. I guess part of this comes down to a lot of the bosses, particularly in the base game, being kinda slow to attack, so running away or around their attacks is a fairly feasible strategy. But saying that, the Artorias and Manus fights were much tougher than everything else put together. I guess that's no surprise, given that they're, two of the most aggressive bosses in the game and actually have multi-hit combos they can do. Would you guys be interested in seeing me attempting to answer this question in the other games in the series? Let me know in the comments below. For now though, thanks for watching. I've been JK Leeds. See ya, and have a good one.